Good evening. Welcome to King of Peace. For many of you, it feels like it's only been like 2.5 hours since we last saw each other. It's so glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you for coming back on this Sunday night. My name is Jeremiah Cummings. For those of you that may not know me, thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie, you know you will always get a hand clap from Jeannie. You just have to kind of give her the go ahead. And I'm the Director of Music and Creative Communications here at King of Peace. And we are just delighted that you are with us for this night of music with Marsha Stevens-Pino and Justin Ryan. I've known them for a while, as I've been an MCC for a very long time. I don't know what stories they're going to share, so I don't want to share any of their stories because I've heard many. But I will say that they've been in MCC for a very long time, and they've been a part of King of Peace from years back, so it's almost like it's a homecoming. Yeah. Justin was telling me a little earlier, because they were traveling this weekend to 3 of the churches in this area, that it was so nice to see so many faces that they had seen for many, many years. And it's just a realization that Justin and I are both getting older. Because we were, only Justin and I, yes, because we were in our wee 20s when we got to know each other. But they're going to allow the Spirit to work in them, and they're going to tell their stories and sing their songs, and I'm glad that we can be here to receive the Spirit from them this night. So if you will, join me in prayer, and we're going to get to singing. Holy God, we are so grateful for this night, that we can gather in this place, in your house, surrounded in your Spirit and in fellowship with one another. May you, creator of music, creator of our spirits, envelop us in this room tonight. Envelop those that are watching online. And may we know that we have been in your presence when we leave this place. Thank you for all that you're going to do in this night. And thank you for the ministries of Marsha and of Justin and what they will contribute to our spirits tonight. We ask all this in all of your many names, but especially we pray in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen. If you will, please give a warm King of Peace welcome back to Marsha Stevens-Pino and Justin Ryan.
Help me with this one, okay? Preacher says we should love our neighbors, but I don't even know my neighbors' names. And every Sunday it's the same, trying to find the answers in the stained glass windows. All the deeds I carry on my shoulder, well, it's a wonder that I made it through the door. I wrote some golden rules that good folks said I should stick to, cause that made me rotten to the core. Yeah, whispers in the pews, away praying for me and you. How can a place so sacred be filled with so much hatred? Jesus, we're resting as thieves. If you don't believe us, maybe you just don't believe. If they say a guy like me is going straight to hell, but I think Jesus can love this Jezebel. I met my best friend Jack in Sunday school, sing about the VIP lady, and learn about the love that purifies each one of us, and in God's eyes we are free. But Jack grew up and fell in love with Adam, and pretty soon the word sure got around. And to the ground. Yeah, whispers in the pews, they ain't praying for me and you, but we're covered by God's blood, then we're made to judge. 'Cause taking Jesus, there is peace. If you don't believe us, maybe you just don't believe. They may say they're straight, they're going straight to Him, but I think Jesus can love this Jezebel. This little light's mine, let me let it shine. I'm gonna let it shine. We all gotta let it shine. So if you let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. In Jesus for rest, yes please. If you don't believe us, maybe you just don't believe. They may say if I act this way, I'm going straight to hell. But I think Jesus can love this Jezebel. I know Jesus can love this Jezebel.
Yeah, no kidding, this is coming home. Oh my gosh. I've known you most of my life. I've actually.
Most of your life, most of my life.
Well, part of the reason for moving back to Florida is that here I'm just middle-aged. You know, so these are kids, but you know, Cindy and I are all, isn't that right, Jerry? Cindy and I are just middle-aged. Yes, so anyway, I was giving, most of you know me probably by the very first song I ever wrote. And that first song was called The Very First Contemporary Christian Music. So I was writing to a conference one time, and somebody in the back of this little van that runs you to the hotel and back from the conference said, "Are you going to that gay conference?" And I said, "Well, I'm out now, right?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "I think you're in the encyclopedia in our break room." So I've been around a long time. And when I first started writing music, there was no reason to write the kind of music that I write for any reason other than to share with your friends. You just wanted to talk about Jesus to your friends, you wrote a song. There was nobody playing it on the radio, there were no charts, there were nothing. You know, nobody was trying to get signed to a contract. There was no reason to write music. And those of you who know music very well will know that all four of the chords that I knew at the time made it into this song. But I was just doing an interview recently with somebody from Vice magazine about the 50th anniversary of Jesus music and contemporary Christian music scene. And he said, "So tell me, you know, it's been so long and you've been out of the closet and you've been sort of kicked out of the church and everything. So what's changed about you and your music?" And I said, "Not a thing. I'm still doing exactly the same thing I was doing. They made it commercial, they made it political, they made charts and competitions. I'm doing the same thing. I'm writing about Jesus for my friends." You said you'd come and share all
won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried, and I strove to remind you that for those tears I died. Your goodness so great, I can't understand. And dear Lord, I know that all this was planned. I know you're here now and always will be. Your love loosed my chains, and in you I'm free. But Jesus, why me? Y Jesús dijo, ven a las aguas y puedes tomar la sed de tu vida, yo puedo quitar tus lágrimas siento y en tinieblas sufrí. Con amor te recuerdo, por tu vida morí. Jesus, I give you my heart and my soul. I know that without God I'd never be whole. Savior, you opened all the right doors, and I thank you and praise you from its humble shores. Take me, I'm yours. And Jesus said, come to the water, stand by my side. I know you are thirsty, you won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried, and I strove to remind you that for those tears I died. Let's sing it, Jesus says. And Jesus says, come to the water, stand by my side. I know you are thirsty, you won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried, and I strove to remind you that for those tears I died. And I strove to remind you that for those tears I I've heard so many amazing stories about that song since I wrote it, and each time people will start out the story by saying, oh, you probably heard this 1,000 times. Isn't that better? You know? I mean, I can't believe that Jesus took this lonely, lost 16-year-old girl 52 years ago, 53, how many years ago now? Okay, I'm 70, so yeah, all that time ago, and said, I'm going to give you a song that's going to weave the gay Christian community back together again. I mean, I can't even tell you that one of the elders at MCC, Don Eastman, said that he went to his mother's funeral, and Assemblies of God funeral, and he was
always the outcast of the family, and nobody wanted to sit with him, and everybody was shocked that he even came, and you know your mom wouldn't have wanted you here, kind of thing. And he said he sat there all alone in the pew and thought, God, are we okay? I mean, he's a leader, he's an elder at MCC, he's a pastor of MCC Dallas, and he said, I just need to know if we're okay. And just then, the group helping with his mother's funeral from the Assembly of God Church came out and said, we know that there's one song that Mrs. Eastman wanted everybody to hear, and this is the song that she wanted sung at her funeral. Sang for those tears I died. And yeah, another time a woman stood in line for almost 2 hours to talk to me after a big concert and said, well, you probably hear this all the time, but I was divorced from my husband, and I didn't know how angry he was, and he came back into the house after we split up, and I was just stupid, and I let him in, and he tied me to the bed and beat me and raped me and left me for dead. And I'm thinking, no, I don't hear this story all the time. And she said, when they finally released me 3 days later, she said I couldn't sleep for weeks. Every time I closed my eyes, it was just awful. She said I got up and I was walking around the city in the middle of the night, and I heard an organ playing. So I went over to the church, and lo and behold, at middle of the night, the church doors were open, and I went in and I said, is there a song in your hymnal about something about Jesus being with you when you cry in the night? And the organist said, well, it's in our hymnal. It's illegal for me to copy it because it's copyrighted, but I can give you a copy of the hymnal. I was like, I want to meet you in heaven, But I mean, what an amazing thing that God did. I didn't do it. I do 4 chords on the guitar, and Jesus, that's it, So I think that it's still something that, especially younger people in our communities, but all of us are still learning, that God has made a way for us, and there is truth for us, and sometimes we have to search to find it. And I know one time I was listening to somebody preach about how when Isaac got sent out in the desert in the Old Testament with his family and livestock, they were actually sent out to the desert to die of starvation and thirst, And they went and tried to uncap the wells of their ancestors. Do we not try to do that? Well, I'm just going to go back to that other church because they don't like me, but at least, I like the hymns there, whatever. And the people that own the wells said, you can't drink here. These are our wells now. You can leave. They had to go and dig their own wells. And there's a reason why they had to do that. But it's the same reason that we can do it. And Cindy and I heard a pastor say this once, but she was a preacher. I take what somebody preaches and make it rhyme and sing it. And she said, and do you know why they can dig their own wells? Do you know why that is? Because the water don't belong to them. So we would not know. Kleenexes, or I would have told it Cindy. Oh, good, it's one of those good churches that has Kleenex wrappers. I went to a concert one time, and some of you have heard this, but I thought it was such a good song for Trans Awareness Week. You know, it takes people a long time, some of us longer than others, to find out who we really are. And I wanted to sing this because I was at a church a long time ago, maybe 100 people, it was a good crowd, and this guy in the very back of the congregation just glowered through the whole song, and I'm thinking, any minute now he's going to leave. But no, he stayed and just kept glowering. And I kept thinking, why is he here? Of course you know that being a diva, if anybody in the crowd's frowning, it must be about me. Duh, right? you know, it takes one diva to change a light bulb because the whole world revolves around us. So, I thought he was going to leave, he didn't, and as I walked out, I mean, he's in a suit and tie, and he was shaking when I got to the back door, and he said, I need to try to tell you what just happened to me, and I'm going to have to go because I'm really shaken. And I'm like, golly, what? And he said, you know, in the past, I've been a Baptist and a Catholic and a Mormon. And every time people laughed at me and thought I was just being silly because, you know, I couldn't make up my mind. And he said, but that's not true. Every time I thought I had found the church, the place that was going to make me straight and good and right with God. And every time I got kicked out. And he said, over 20 years ago, I swore I would never darken the doorstep of a church again. And I had a friend that just nagged me to come to your concert. And I finally thought, great, I'll go and critique it for you. And I was waiting for 2.1 to go up in the back row. And I thought, well, why did you stay? And he said, because halfway through the concert, I felt the Spirit of the Lord fill the room, and it made me furious. He said, I just wanted to stand up and scream and go, so what am I supposed to think? Is it the real you this time, Jesus? And he said, this soft voice in my heart said, will you tell me, Steve, is it the real you this time? And for the first time in my life, I could say yes.
Can't stand, oh, I lost the vision years ago.
me, I love you. I love you with every breath. I watch down for you, smooth the path, and try to show you light. But you would never let me hold you in the night. So now what's more, I offer you a chance. Will you turn away? Much harder than real you. Time to real you. Wanting truth and only learned to wander tonight. Real you. Time to real you. How many people have been here at King of Peace longer than 20 years? Or were here 20 years ago? Okay. I met Cindy at King of Peace. This is my wife of over 20 years now. And and some of you knew her before I did. And she, you know, people here kind of nudged us together when I wasn't aware of it. I know. Sandy and Jake and Pastor John. But one of the things that we started doing was we started doing groups of musicians who wanted to be in ministry in the gay community, but sometimes their theology was like just the same as the one they left, and they hadn't really figured out how to make their thinking more inclusive. And sometimes they were either, you know, very operatic and didn't kind of know how to relate to a crowd. They knew how to perform but not relate. Or sometimes they were very slick and you know, knew how to be Southern gospel but didn't know how to be vulnerable in their sharing. And so we did classes, a lot of them at King of Peace. And one of the things that we did to open this up was we did a praise and worship album. We had 87 people either submit songs that they wrote for the gay and lesbian Christian community, LGBTQ Christian community, or people who wanted to sing on it from the LGBTQ Christian community. And out of 87, we chose 19 songs and 19 singers. Went to Nashville. Oh, Nashville's fun. You know, they don't really have theology, they have like your musicology. And so they don't really care who you are if they like your music, but sometimes they learned a lot. So one of the things that we talked about was how when the Israelites were in bondage in Babylon, the Babylonians came out and teased them and said, you know, how come you're not singing all about Jehovah now, you know? And they said, oh, we hung up our harps on the weeping willow tree. We're not going to sing the praises of God anymore. But you know, there was a time in my life that I said that, but like Jeremiah, God's word burned in my heart like a fire in my bones, so I could not contain it. I had to keep writing. And so this was a song that we wrote for the group that we hauled Justin into when I first met him over half his life ago.
I was a last minute addition too.
Yes, he'll tell you more about that. But anyway, we caught him like a fish and reeled him in. And
Kidnapping is what they call it in 2022.
a kid, and yes, okay. And so this was one of the first songs that we recorded, and of course Justin helped us with all the arrangements and his fabulous singing and harmonies and everything. He's gonna sing with me. By the rivers of Babylon we sat, our captors demanded a song of praise. But how can we sing the songs of home in this distant place? Songs of praise from a strange land in our hearts. We are free and though in exile, still we're singing songs of praise. Songs of praise, we're forgiving and we find we are living in your grace, in your strength, singing praise. Though in exile, still we have found a home, hidden beneath the wings of grace. The gates of hell can never stand against a people strong in praise. Songs of praise from a strange land in our hearts. We are free and though in exile, still we're singing songs of praise. Songs of praise, we're forgiving and we find we are living in your grace, in your strength, singing praise. Let our God set us free, break these chains of fear. Let our God hear our plea, we exalt you, Lord, land, for and near. Songs of praise from a strange land in our hearts. We are free and though in exile, still we're singing songs of praise. Songs of praise, we're forgiving and we find we are living in your grace, in your strength, singing praise. In your grace, in your strength, singing praise. So in July of 2020, Cindy and I were living in Nashville because of her job, and the pandemic had everybody closed down, and George Floyd was killed. And I mean, those of you who know me know I had to write about it. But what was I going to do? I wrote a song. There's no place to record it. There's no accompanist to play with you. Everything's shut down. And so I sent it to my older son, Johnny, and he wrote some music to it. And I got in touch with the guys at the Grand Ole Opry. And like I said, I don't really even know why they like me so well, but they like me. And I said, you know, I have this song, and I just really, I feel like I want to say something, I want to do something. I feel so lost with this horrible death and these horrible hatred just bubbling up, you know? And they said, Marsha, nobody's working. You want to send me music or whatever? All of them have computers, and so they just bounce it from here to here to here to here. Like one guy does guitar and another guy does bass, and they send it to this guy's house for drums, and they send it to that person's place for piano. And he said, we'd all love to do a song in your mood. So this is the band from the Grand Ole Opry. And I called Justin and I said, you know, do you have any idea what we can do with this? I mean, Cindy and I went to the Black Lives Matter speeches and get-togethers and stuff, but you really feel like you're not doing anything. So Justin took it to an old theater in Paducah, Kentucky. Don't ask why. And it all closed down, and he decided to just put the shoe on the other foot. He found somebody to tape it, but he had, he's alone. You can't have anybody else in there, right? But he brought one black friend with him, because in this old theater, there used to be a side entrance out of the alley that black people had to go in. And then they had their own candy counter, and then they had to go up all these flights of stairs to the very, very back where they had their own bathroom and their own water fountain, and they had to sit up there. And he said, well, if there was ever a place to break down walls, let's do it here. And so he did a beautiful video. He's going to do it for you now. But, Emmett Till was a 14-year-old boy, as you know, back in the 50s, who was, the movies coming out about him. But he was killed by white supremacists for supposedly winking or making a comment to a white woman. And I mean, they terribly mutilated him and tore his eyes out and beat him to death. And his mother insisted on having the coffin open, because she said, you're gonna see what you did to him. So this video is graphic, but we felt like you need to see what you've done.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will arise and live up to true meaning of its creed.
This nation, for all its folks, will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
No people should be treated equally, regardless of who they are or who they are. And it's peaceful, but that is not fair, not just,
If the circle's wide enough for you, but it won't let me inside. If the teen who's questioning next door is frightened to confide. If you say that you believe that God has made me who I am, but you fear your friends and family will never understand. You have to stand closer. Love's not just a word. Stand closer, actions can be heard. Thoughts and prayers are not enough to say that you are waking up. You're not standing close enough, stand closer. If the knee that's healing on your neck won't take away my breath, the rifle shooting at your back will never cause my death. If I say that I am with you, but you're standing all alone, if rocks and insults bite you, but I don't feel alone, I have to stand closer. Love's not just a word. Stand closer, actions can be heard. Thoughts and prayers are not enough to say that I'm waking up. I am not standing close enough. Stand close, stand close, stand close, stand close. The prophets cry for justice. Oh dear God, hear our pleas. You felt our pain and saved our tears. Now raise us from our knees. So we can stand closer, not just a word. Stand closer, actions can be heard. Thoughts and prayers are not enough to say that we are waking up. We're not standing close enough. We still have so much work to do, don't we? Well, how many of you, so I'm Justin Ryan, I know so many of you here, but how many of you have never ever seen me before? Oh, wow, it has been a long time. Yeah, I see one in the back that said she's never seen me before, but she's seen way more of me than anybody else. So. That would be Cindy. But anyway, I'm originally from a little town in Kentucky called Paducah. Now, you can probably tell by the twang in my voice. But if you don't know where Paducah's at, because I go a lot of places and people have no idea where it's at. But if you were to look at a map, it would be between two little towns. One up here is called Monkey's Eyebrow, and the other one down here is called Possum Trot. So if you can imagine, there are not a whole lot of people in Paducah like me. It was just your small little town, you know? And so, like Marsha was talking about the Nashville musicians earlier, I eventually made it to Nashville after I left Florida and lived there for quite a few many years and did a lot of studio work with a lot of different folks. And like she said, the Grand Ole Opry folks have that same, you know, that if we love your song, we love you. And usually they know when they come to a Justin Ryan session that they're going to leave there probably with a little more than they left with. You know, they're gonna get something that they didn't get before. And so I had a lesbian friend of mine send me a song that was her version of her interpretation of the Lord's Prayer. And so I took it in, and the musicians were sitting there in their bib overalls, you know. And I was probably wearing something like this. And so, anyway, they were talking, and they always say, what do you want the song to sound like? And I said, well, let's make it simple for everybody to understand. Let's take it back. Maybe we'll just make it sound, can you make it sound like Duck Dynasty? I mean, I don't want it to go over any of those people's heads, you know. So I played the song for them, they listened to it, and I do think a couple of them might have spit their Chick-fil-A out in the middle of listening to it. But by the end of the song, they got it. And we had Loretta Lynn's little 65-year-old steel guitar player who played on it. And so that was kind of a treat. But I think by the time we get to the end of this song, you'll be singing it along with me. But this is the lesbian interpretation of the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come to every nation. Thy will be done in everything we do. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from those who think they're you. I'm sure you know some folks like that. Lord, send us forth to be of service, to build a bridge, to dig the wells, and deliver us from the TV preachers with their narrow minds and very wide lapels. Thy kingdom come to every nation. Thy will be done in everything we do. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from those who think they're you. Lord, deliver us from politicians who drop your name in every speech, as if they're your best friend from high school, as if they practice what they preach. Thy kingdom come to every nation. Thy will be done in everything we do. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from those who think they're you. Send us forth to Thy kingdom come to every nation. Thy will be done in everything we do. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from those who think they're you. You know it's singing. Thy kingdom come to every nation. Thy will be done in everything we do. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from those who think they're you. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from those who think they're you. And the church said, Amen, 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 that session, because after it was over with, Loretta Lynn's little steel player came up to me and he said, Justin, because that's how they say it in Nashville, Justin, I want you to know, did you like what I played on that song? I said, I sure did. He said, well, I did something just for you. I said, what'd you do? He said, I played one of my famous licks in that song from one of Loretta Lynn's songs. And I said, oh, you did? I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, yeah, I sure did. He said, you want to know what song it was? And I said, sure, what song was it? He said, you ain't woman enough to take my man. And I said, I guess you're going to be after all. But you know, people have asked ever since I've been traveling how long I've been singing. Well, I've been singing since I was 8 years old. And it was only by chance, because my grandmother overheard me in the car singing along with my Walkman to the Bette Midler Beaches soundtrack. So it all tracks back, of course. But a couple of years ago, we did a Christmas album that we did, and so this was the very first song that I ever sang when I was a little kid. I didn't sing this version of it, but I thought it's November, we're getting closer to Christmas time, so I thought I might as well just sing this. But I feel like right now, with everything that's been going on the last few years in our country, that something about this song rings true even today. From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. And it's the voice of hope, it's the voice of peace, it's the voice of everyone. From a distance, the world seems silent night, like a soft embracing song. From a distance, the words sound sweet and clear, and all is bright and calm. From a distance, we are God is watching, watching. God is watching, God's watching, watching from a distance. Oh, in Chelsea Stadium, from a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. And from a distance, I cannot comprehend what all this fighting is for. From a distance, there is harmony, clearing echo through the land. And it's the song of joy, it's the song of peace, it's the heart of everyone. In the season of universal love, this is the song of everyone. God is watching, watching. God is watching, God's watching, watching. From a distance, God is watching, God's watching, watching. God's watching, watching us from a distance. Oh, come let us adore in joy to the world. So I grew up in that little town of Kentucky, and town of Paducah, and it was just an interesting experience. Our family was very religious. We were at church every time the doors were open. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. If there was a Bible school, a funeral, a wedding, didn't matter what it was, we were at church. Basically, anytime there was food at church, we were at church. Can you relate to that at least? And so I knew growing up that I was different, very different than anybody else in my hometown. And I was very afraid to let that secret out. Well, when I was in high school, I started working a retail job, and I met my very first gay friend that was out. And to this day, he is still the queeniest gay guy that I have ever met in my life. He would take the stick thing that you get the clothes off the top of the racks with, and he would twirl it down the aisle like it was a baton as he walked down the aisle. And so he told me one day, he said, Justin, he said, you've got to come out soon. He said, people are talking. He said, and you're going to want your father to hear it before someone tells him on the street. And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, yeah, probably better to let him say something. So I thought my plan, I had it all figured out. I'll do it on a Wednesday night after church, because maybe the spirit will still be flowing in the room when I get home, and he won't notice. So I got home that night, I was 17 years old, and I said to my dad, I said, Dad, can we talk? And he said, well, just go ahead and say it. I said, okay, I'm gay. And he said, well, you see that door back there? I want you to walk out of it and never return. You're no longer our son. We don't have anything to do with you. I don't know if you can imagine what that's like for a 17-year-old, but when you're 17 years old, you don't have a whole lot of experience. You don't have a support system when you don't have your parents. And you've got this whole brand new life that you know nothing about. That's scary. Because back then especially, you could end up at the wrong place at the wrong time. It was right about the time of Matthew Shepard. And so I did what any good kid would do. I continued to go to school, and I lived in my car the last half of And so finally I met the second gay person I've ever met. He was a little older and had a house, and of course when I came out, all I wanted was to be in a relationship and just be normal like everybody else. So I thought, well, he's got a house, he's a nice guy, this could work. But at 17 years old, unfortunately, you're not the best judge of character. And it wouldn't have been anything at all for me to go to my job with a black eye or a broken foot, because things were just so bad at home. And, I didn't know how to fix it because I didn't have anywhere else to go. And so one night, I woke up and I was going to check my email, and I shook the mouse on the computer to wake the screen up. And I guess my partner had left his email up, and I saw where he was cheating. And of course, I confronted him about it, and he said, well, Justin, he said, this is my house. If you don't like it, you can leave. And I thought, well, I've already done that once. So he got his stuff and he left. And so I remember sitting there in my sort of pool of despair and thinking to myself, you know what? I finally get it. My family doesn't want me. My friends don't want me. The church definitely doesn't want me. I've given it all up to be with this person, and now he doesn't want me. And God certainly doesn't have anything to say to me, so I don't need to be here anymore. So I did like any good gay boy would do, and Jeremiah, he knows me well, so he knows this is true. I went in the bathroom, put on my favorite outfit, fixed my hair all up, so nobody would ever be able to move it, so I looked the way I wanted to when they found me, right? So I went in the kitchen, got some alcohol, got some of his sleeping pills, and I laid down in a perfect little Lily Munster pose to die. And I thought, well, this is all it's going to be. And as I laid there in my stupor, I thought to myself, this is not messy enough. My dad's just going to tell people that I died of a health problem and cover it all up. And I thought, I've got to make it messy, I guess. So I got up and stumbled to the kitchen and got a knife and started cutting myself wherever I could. And luckily, he had forgotten his wallet. And he came home and found me. And when I woke up, I was in the emergency room. And I was mad. I was so mad because I was still here. I thought, well, didn't God want me dead anyway? That's what the church had always told me. And so, I kind of recovered from that, and I went back to my job. And the little guy who worked with me knew that I'd been going through it. And he said, Justin, he said, have you ever thought about, maybe going to church? I just looked at him like he was from another planet. And I said, church is the problem with this whole thing. You don't understand. And he said, no, Justin. He said, what I mean is a gay church. And I was like, isn't that like a bar? Do they have drag queens? Like, what is this? And he said, no, it's church. And I said, well, okay. Well, I just was not ready for all that. Just couldn't do it. So he nagged me week after week. He'd come up to me with that stick for the clothes, and he'd be twirling, you gonna go to church with me this Sunday? And I mean, he did it week after week after week after week. So after about a month of that, I figured if I didn't go, I was never gonna hear the end of it, so I'll just go and shut him up. That'll be that. Well, nobody told me about MCC, and Paducah didn't have a gay bar at the time, but we had an MCC church, a very small one. And nobody told me about how MCC works. So I dressed way up, and look around the room, any of us dressed way up? Didn't get that memo. Showed up way past gay standard time and sat on the very back row because I didn't want whatever was up here to get me. And I don't know what it was about that service. I couldn't tell you what the songs were. I couldn't tell you what the preacher spoke about that day. But what I can tell you is that that very same feeling that I felt when I was a little kid in church, it was the voice of God that just said, you know what, Justin? I hear you and I see you and I know. I've always known. And even though your dad doesn't care anymore, I've always been here for you. And so, in times that we go through, I know some of you have gone through some stuff in your own life, whether it's been stuff with the church or stuff where you just feel like something in your life is going on that's so wrong that you don't even know how to pray for yourself. And that's about the point that I had gotten to. And so this song, I think that some of you can relate to. It's kind of my story in a nutshell, but I think some of you will relate for sure. Be with me when I cannot speak your name. I'm choking in the pools of my despair. What if I cry and you're not really there? Is there a chance you love me just the same when I cannot speak your name? I keep your portrait in a gilded frame. That crucifix just blocks me from the wall. What if I'm really not your child at all? The terror has extinguished every flame till I cannot speak your name. What if I use my final breath to pray and find you do not answer anyway? Will I only have myself to blame, or will you be there when I cannot speak your name? I hide my heart where none can reach. Can I not live this life I preach? The well-worn pages burn in the refuse of my fall. Was your book only made of paper after all? What if my last chance already came? What if my all is not enough? If you should call me on this love, and still you find a way to bear my shame when I cannot speak your name. What if I use my final breath to pray and find you do not answer anyway? And will I only have myself to blame, or will you be there? But here's the good news. You're with us when we dare not. You're with us when we will not. And you love us when we cannot speak your name. Well, Justin, we're so glad you're here today. We've got you in our program to sing next week. I said, oh, that's so sweet. But no, I don't know if I'll even be here next week, but thank you so much. And she just looked at me again and she said, well, Justin, we've got you in our program to sing, and service starts at 10:30. You could be here at about 9:45 for sound check, and it'll all be good. Now, I don't know if you've seen a really good Kentucky lesbian or not, but when you are 17 years old, you just shake your head and say, yes, ma'am. And so the next Sunday, I sang. And so one by one, God's just started to give me things in my life that I never thought I would have. Marsha showed up at the church about a couple of months later, and the pastor, and Cindy, and the pastor was like, we want you to open for Marsha. And I said, open for who? And so anyway, we got there that night, and I left my retail job and came straight over to the concert, rushed in the last minute. Cindy was at the soundboard, and the pastor said, you got your songs ready? And I said, songs? I got a song. She goes, oh no. She goes, you have to sing more than one. And I said, okay. So Cindy and Marsha sat there patiently while I sang 4 songs that night. I thought Cindy was going to kill me by the time the night was over. Good. But then after that, the very next day, the pastor called me and said, because I left after the concert, the pastor called me and said, Justin, Marsha and Cindy are doing this album in Nashville, and they want you to be a part of it. And so the church just took a vote right there at the restaurant and said, we're going to send him there. And so that's how it began. And so she kidnapped me and brought me here. And then we went to Nashville, and we got to meet a whole lot of great folks. So it just goes to show you that God has plans for your life, even when you don't think that God does. And so now, people always ask where the story is now, so I'll go ahead and tell you now, so I don't have to tell you back there at the CD table. But my mom is great, and she is back home in Paducah. I think she's actually watching tonight online. And then my dad, we haven't worked things out at all. But whenever God decides that that's time for that to happen, that's okay with me. I got plenty of gay dads and lesbian moms, and I even have a few lesbian dads too. So, all across the country. So it's been a good experience. And about 7 years ago, I got married. So, and Scott couldn't be here, but I think he's watching as well. So, there are so many times in our lives that we face stuff that we don't understand, and we don't know how to get out of it, and we don't know how things are ever going to come back to the way they need to be. We were on the road not too long ago, and it reminded me of a story about a young woman who had surgery to remove a tumor in her cheek. The doctor went in to remove the tumor, and while he was in there, he severed a nerve in her cheek and paralyzed her. So her husband came in, the doctor came in to tell her about the fact that the side of her face was paralyzed, and she was just so distraught. And the husband just kind of looked at her and he said, you know what, honey? He said, I kind of like it. He said, it's kind of like a rye grin. And he twisted his face up to match hers and leaned in to kiss her to let her know that the kiss still works. And isn't that exactly how God is with each and every one of us? God sent Jesus to become as battered and broken and wounded as you and I, to meet us where we're at, to let us know that the kiss still works. I am a single man, going on 33. And folks are probably wondering if there's something wrong with me. Shouldn't you be married by now? Find a nice girl and settle down. But God knows that kind of life ain't in the cards for me. I'm not like most other men. I guess I've always been different. I was a mama's boy, kind of a sensitive kid. They say fight back like a man, but I never did. boys would bully me, I'd turn the other cheek. Always gentle, mild and meek. Some things you just can't change, and I've always been this way. Different. So do I make you nervous just a little bit? Would you want me as your neighbor? Would you trust me with your kids? Are you afraid of me 'cause I'm not like you? Is there any one of us who isn't different? Some like to criticize the way I live my life. You see, I like my wine and I spend my time with a bunch of guys, and I ain't ashamed to admit some of my best friends. You see, they live their lives and sometimes die out on the edge. You might call them whores and freaks, but they're just like me, different. So do I make you nervous just a little bit? Could you love me as your neighbor? Would you trust me with your kids? Are you afraid of me 'cause I'm not like you? Is there any one of us who isn't different? My name is Jesus, and I live in Galilee. And there's an angry crowd outside right now coming after me. You've never seen such fear, never seen such hate. If I'm right before tonight, I will be betrayed with a kiss from another man. That's how they'll know I am different. Oh, I am different. Don't you know we're all different? Ooh, different.
We only have two more songs because like, a lot of people already said thank you for having this so early. I'm thinking, oh, thank you for having this so early. But I love that kind of a mama's boy. It is kind of a mama's boy. My son Johnny's kind of a mama's boy too. And he wrote this song when he was out of place. A lot of songs, some of the songs Justin didn't say I wrote, but anyway, I wrote this song.
They know when it's a good lyric, it's yours.
And so I wrote this one with my son Johnny, but I think we've all been there. Sometimes it's really hard. You're trying to walk that line. You're trying to go, well, is this just peaceful, or have I just given up? You know, or how do I hang on, but not too tight? You know, and then sometimes you just feel like, I think I'm just out of God's grasp. I've just gone too far. I've done too much. I've hurt myself too badly, and it's never going to get better than this. And that's a lie.
When I was young, I had a different kind of faith. It was so innocent and pure. But now I've grown and found that my heart is not quite as it seems. The world is knocking at my door. You tell me grace is not a lie. Oh, would you listen if I prayed? Would you heal me if I obeyed? I'm sinking down, I live in fear. Can you reach me from here? Can you reach me from here? Can you reach me? Sometimes I cannot tell the difference between peace and giving up. Let go of me, hold on to you. Can I release the pain of my past and still learn from my mistakes? I cry at dreams I thought were true. I want to live the vision through. Oh, would you listen if I prayed? Would you heal me if I obeyed? Sinking down, I live in fear. Can you reach me from here? From here? Can you reach me? Can you reach me from here? Can you reach me? Can you reach me? Can you reach me from here?
We just have one song left, and they told me, is it still okay to do this? We're going to take a love offering tonight for Justin. He volunteered to come out here without any pay, but I would love to send him home as a gift. You can check us out. Our ministry is called Ball Ministries, Born Again Lesbian Music Ministries. Just saying, I don't want to write lesbian on your check. But, or you can give at the table back here. We have my book, we have both of our CDs, if anybody still listens to CDs. Apparently they do, because people have been buying them. I don't even have a CD player anymore. But anyway, that's out there for you if you want to bless Justin. You can make a check out to KOP, that's fine, King of Peace, or you can make it out to Ball Ministries. Anything that you give, or if you give on a credit card at the table, it'll all go to Justin. And I just want to close with a song, and I especially wanted to do this for Jean and Jerry tonight, because both of them love Cindy almost as much as I do. And I know that Jerry will definitely recognize that this is a song about Cindy, because I've been married to her I've been with her over 20 years. We just celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary, because it took that long for it to become legal. And she's the best Christian I know. After 20 years together, I can say that. You know that, don't you? Yeah. Because, she just has a giving and a loving heart. But there was a time when, just like Justin talked about, just like things I've shared, she was living on the street, drug addicted alcoholic for most of her 20s. And nobody would know that with her double master's degrees and who knows what her brain can be now. But nobody would know it because she has a servant's heart. And when I first got together with her, we would put together these bags of food for homeless people. And I said, oh, that's a good idea. So I got a paper bag, and she said, oh, honey, I know we don't want to use too much plastic, but you should really have it be in a clear bag so that people know what you're handing them. Because, most people, they don't know what you might be sticking in their hand. I said, oh my gosh, I never saw that. And she said, and you should also put something to drink in there, because a lot of times people won't even let them and drink from their hose. They don't have any way to get even water sometimes. So you got to put it in. How do you know all this? And she said, because I've been there. She never passed a lonely soul she failed to greet. The gardener pulling weeds, the beggar on the street, the ones who seem invisible, the addicts gone astray. I never really noticed them until she stopped to pray. And when I asked her why she seemed to always care, she could only answer, I've been there, I've been there. I begged to die in pain no one could share. I kept the wounds, I kept the scars. I can read them where they are. I can feel their pain, 'cause I've been there. So many times I see the tears fill their eyes. Some church has thrown them out. The world has told them lies. They feel they are invisible and their hearts have grown so hard. Afraid God has abandoned them because of me. Jesus, how can you reach through such despair? Then I hear you answer, I've been there, I've been there. I begged to die in pain no one could share. I felt the wounds, I took the scars. I can reach you where you are. I can feel your pain, 'cause I've been there. It took the cross, it took the shame, it took my blood so you know I felt your pain. I've been there, I've been there. I begged to die in pain no one could share. I felt the wounds, I felt the scars. I can reach you where you are. I can feel your pain, 'cause I've been there. Christ says don't leave before you say a simple prayer. You can come from death to life, 'cause I've been there. Ooh, I've been there. Jesus, we thank you so much for this evening together. We thank you for this group. We thank you that you took Justin's life, my life, that you took Cindy's life, and grabbed us wherever we were and turned us around toward you. We're so grateful that we never let us go. Help us to go out of here instant and ready to give a reason for the answer that's within us. To remember that nobody else is banging down the doors to reach our community for you. If we don't tell them about it, no one will. We ask that you take us out of here filled and renewed and refreshed and blessed and ready to bless the next person down the road. In Jesus' name. God be with you till we meet again. By Christ's counsel guide and uphold you, with the shepherd's care enfold you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet. Till we meet. Till we meet. Till we meet at Jesus' feet. Till we meet. Till we meet. God be with you till we meet again.
So thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for giving of your time to be here. Make sure you stop by the table in the back. Make sure you leave them an offering. The offering baskets are in the back. And God be with you till we meet again. Thanks for coming.
And Jesus says, come to the water, stand by my side. I know you are thirsty, you won't be denied. I felt every teardrop when in darkness you cried, and I strove to remind you